We've been hearing, Governor, since you started your campaign that you were going to collapse and that things are like falling from the sky, and yet it's Donald Trump who seems to be afraid to go to debates. This is a third debate, I guess, coming up next week in Miami that he's going to skip. Do you think any candidate that's afraid to debate his opponents in a primary should be president of the United States?
We are not going to win as Republicans, Joe, by adopting the strategy that Biden did, being in the basement during the 2020 campaign. That's effectively what Donald Trump's doing. He is refusing to debate. We've got a lot of issues that this country is facing right now. It requires steady, focused, strong leadership. You got to be able to defend your record, and you got to be able to articulate how you're going to take the country in a better direction. And so my view about why you should debate, I mean, look, I want to fight for people. You know, and Donald Trump is perceived by Republicans as a fighter, but I also want to win for people. And that means winning elections, but also means winning on these policy fights. Donald Trump even now is saying that his famous promise to build the wall and have Mexico pay for it, that he never intended to do it because he said that Mexico, there was no mechanism to do it. You actually could have taxed the remittances, and that's what I would do. But we need a lead to lead forward. You got to have a unifying vision. So he should do it. But I would note this. I mean, you mentioned some of the, ever since Iran, there's always the narratives. Trump is spending massive amounts of money attacking me in Iowa. He's had to go campaign in Iowa. So if he's saying he's so far up he doesn't need to debate, that is belied by their activity on the ground there.
You know, it's interesting. Joe Biden may have spent a lot of time in his basement, but he'd climb out of that basement to debate the Democrats and Republicans.
That's true.
And Trump won't even get out of wherever he's staying. I wonder if it's because a lot of times when he gets out there, he thinks he's running against Barack Obama. I mean, he keeps bringing up Barack Obama. He keeps saying these really bizarre things. I guess last week, and I may have seen this on one of your supporter sites, that he told voters they didn't have to go out and vote. Oh, don't worry about it. You don't have to go out and vote. And then he keeps circling back to he thought he ran against Obama in 16. He thought he beat Obama in 20. He thinks he's running against Obama in 24. Do you think some people around him are afraid for him to go out and debate because he seems to lose his concentration, his train of thought?
Well, and also, you look back, you know, Joe Biden did debate. You're right. That first debate against Biden, Biden beat Trump. I mean, I had a bunch of people. We were excited for it. And we were stunned at the end of that debate about how bad it was, and it did hurt his numbers, and I think had an impact on the election. So he needs to prove to Republicans that he's going to be somebody that's going to be able to be up there and get the job done. But you're right. When he's off the teleprompter now, you do see things where he's saying things about not voting, where he's saying things about, you know, there was no way he was going to have Mexico pay for the wall. A lot of these different things. I think you got to go up there. You got to be able to speak from the heart when we're out there campaigning. I'm not using a teleprompter. I'm just out there speaking and telling people what I believe.
Governor, can I add one more thing? He also, weirdly enough, sometimes starts wandering around and starts blaming pro-life voters for what happened in 2022. He's like going out. I'm trying to figure out. Now, I've been very clear about it.
Maybe it's all the litigation.
I've been very clear. I think, you know, I think your 6-week ban is extreme. I personally think that. I think it should be around 15, 16 weeks or so. But again, be that as it may, I know where you stand. And you will tell Iowa voters and South Carolina voters where you stand. Donald Trump goes out and sometimes, weirdly enough, he starts attacking pro-life voters. Like he blamed them for not coming out in 2022. And now he's trying to be everything to everyone, saying, oh, I've got a plan. Everybody's going to love me. And yet he just sort of wanders off instead of actually explaining what he's going to do on an issue that's probably one of the most important issues to Iowa Republicans.
Well, and clearly it's a stark difference from his speech at the March for Life when he was president. I mean, that was not what he was saying then. He said that he was one of us in terms of being a pro-life president. Now he's saying protections when there is a detectable heartbeat for an unborn child is somehow a terrible thing. That is not what Iowa Republicans believe. I think more and more are going to be familiar with those comments over the next couple months. But it is a flip on where he had been previously. And I think it raises the issue of, you go back to 2015, 2016, the Trump of that time. He was clicking as a candidate. I mean, he had energy. He was out there riffing. He was controversial, but in a way that was edgy. And I think people said, you know what, this political system needs to be shaken up. This is a different Donald Trump in 2023. Yeah. I don't think he's got the same energy. I don't think he's got the same pizzazz. 2015 and 16 was about America first. I think this campaign is more about Trump first, and it's more about his issues. And I think we got to focus on the American people's issues.
Governor, good morning. Thanks for being on with us. When you entered the race back in May, there were a lot of hopes put into you by Republicans who were looking to go somewhere else than Donald Trump. You were coming off a 19-point, almost 20-point win in a big, diverse state like Florida. So clearly you know how to win there and in big states. So what is your assessment now as we look at real clear averages that have you down 46 points to Donald Trump? You've been much closer at the beginning. What's your assessment of the way this campaign has gone over the last 6 months?
Well, look, Willie, when we got into the race, we were bracing for these indictments. I think it's helped him. I think it sucked out the oxygen, and we knew it was going to be a brutal summer. I was not somebody that thought nationally we were going to see major movement in those national polls. It's a state-by-state process. So we've worked really hard to lay the groundwork in all the early states. You know, that's not necessarily something that shows up in a poll, but I think if you look at what we've done, we've built a foundation. Now we're in a position where we're in the home stretch. Most people still haven't made up their mind in Iowa and New Hampshire. I was with Governor Sununu last week. He thinks the majority of Republican primary voters in New Hampshire aren't going to decide till January. So the key is really creating that foundation. And I think we've shown in a lot of the numbers that come out, and you can take it all with a grain of salt, but we have the highest percentage of people, say in Iowa, who are actively considering voting for me, and I have the highest favorability. So that gives you the base of voters to draw from. You just got to go in and make the sale, and that's what we're going to do.